2. Value silence. In a world where words spill endlessly and noise drowns out meaning, silence becomes a rare and powerful force. The Stoics understood that strength doesn't come from constant talking, but from measured restraint. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence. True influence doesn't require constant commentary. It requires presence, composure, and the discipline to hold back when others rush to speak. Silence sharpens your perception. When you're not busy reacting, you start observing, and observation leads to wisdom. Think of the calm figure in a chaotic room, the one who speaks rarely, but whose words carry weight when they finally arrive. That is the power of silence. It commands respect without demanding it. In silence, you conserve your energy, protect your focus, and signal to the world that your worth is not measured by noise, but by depth. We do not say anything about future fame when a person is quietly toiling in obscurity. Jobs began in a garage, surrounded not by applause, but by circuit boards, wires, and endless trial and error. There was no spotlight, no press, no one to validate the hours he poured into his vision. Yet in that silence, the foundation of Apple was built, not in noise, but in persistence. The Stoics would call this the practice of virtue, the devotion to one's craft without thought of recognition. For recognition is never the goal. The goal is excellence itself, and excellence requires darkness. The musician practicing scales late into the night, the writer filling journals no one will ever read, the craftsman shaping wood in solitude, all are living examples of this truth. Their greatness does not appear suddenly. It emerges like dawn breaking after a long night, slow and inevitable, a result of unseen effort. This is why the dark is sacred. It shields you from the temptation of applause and forces you to fall in love with the work itself. When the time comes, the world will see the brilliance. But by then, it will no longer matter to you, because you will already know the power of silent mastery. In a world where our attention is constantly hijacked by screens, notifications, and endless scrolling, silence is almost impossible to find. Yet the Stoics remind us that clarity of mind is the foundation of strength. Seneca warned that we are always complaining about not having enough time, yet we waste countless hours on distractions that add no value to our lives. To unplug is not to reject technology entirely, but to reclaim control over it. Every minute you give away to mindless consumption is a minute stolen from your growth, your craft, your peace. Unplugging is a deliberate act of discipline. It is saying no to noise so you can say yes to yourself. Think of Marcus Aurelius writing his meditations in the quiet of his tent, leading an empire yet still carving out time to be alone with his thoughts. He did not need constant updates or the approval of others. He needed stillness, perspective, and focus. When you unplug, you upgrade your ability to think, to create, and to live with intention. The phone in your pocket is a tool, not a master. The moment you reclaim your attention, you step into freedom. The Stoics would nod in agreement with Newport's conviction. Seneca once observed that life is long if you know how to use it, yet most people squander their years chasing what does not matter. Endless scrolling, constant distraction, the fear of missing out, these are simply new forms of the same ancient traps. The promise of connection masks the reality of dependence. To unplug is to choose sovereignty over your own attention. It is to say, I will not be ruled by the trivial. I will choose what I consume. I will decide where my mind rests. This act of restraint transforms time from something fragmented into something whole. It returns to you the power to dive deeply into your craft, your relationships, your inner life. It may feel uncomfortable at first, like silence to someone used to noise, but soon you will discover it is not emptiness at all. It is space. Space to think, space to create, space to live deliberately. And when you return, when you do choose to engage, your presence will carry weight. Not because you were always available, but because you had the discipline to be absent. To unplug, then, is not to step away from life. It is to step into it more fully, with clarity, with intention, with freedom, bragging, but by your transformation. This is why unplugging is not retreat, but strategy. It is sharpening the sword in private so that when you step onto the battlefield of life, you are prepared in a way few others are. The Stoics never sought the crowd's applause. They sought mastery of themselves. That mastery is built in the silence of discipline. in the quiet hours where no one is watching. To unplug is to guard the most valuable currency you possess, your focus. And from that focus flows excellence. Excellence in thought, in action, in presence. So if the world urges you to remain always visible, always reactive, dare to step back, dare to live differently, dare to build in silence, and let your absence amplify your worth. Because when you return, it will not be noise you bring with you, but undeniable value. That is the Stoic way. Not to scatter yourself into 1,000 shallow impressions, but to concentrate your power until your presence cannot be ignored. But self-discipline is the shield that keeps you steady, the compass that pulls you back on course. Think of the athlete who trains not just on game day, but in the silence of empty gyms when no one is there to applaud. Or the writer who sits at their desk each morning, producing page after page, even when inspiration is absent. These people are not relying on the fleeting fire of motivation. They are guided by discipline, a force that is consistent, dependable, and unshakable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting up, say to yourself, 'I am rising to do the work of a human being.'" This was his call to discipline. Not because he always felt like it, but because he knew his purpose demanded it. Self-discipline also creates freedom, though it may sound paradoxical. When you learn to govern your appetites, your impulses, and your distractions, you are no longer ruled by them. You choose your actions rather than being pulled in every direction by fleeting desires. This is true liberty. The disciplined person eats with control, works with focus, rests with purpose, and speaks with intention. Their life is not dictated by chance or whim, but by steady choices aligned with their higher values. That is why Seneca said, "No man is free without self-mastery. To lack discipline is to be enslaved, not to another person, but to your own weaknesses." The world today makes discipline harder than ever. We are surrounded by temptations designed to capture our attention. Endless scrolling, easy pleasures, quick fixes. And yet, it is precisely in this environment that discipline becomes more powerful. The rare person who can say no, who can resist distraction, who can persist quietly in their work while others chase the next dopamine hit, becomes unstoppable. They rise while others sleep. They advance while others delay. They master themselves while others remain prisoners of impulse. Self-discipline is not glamorous, but it is magnetic. People admire the one who shows restraint, who acts with consistency, who embodies strength not in words but in action. There will be mornings when your body resists, when fatigue whispers that comfort is enough, and when progress feels painfully slow. Still, the Stoic understands that greatness is not built in bursts, but through quiet consistency. Consider Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful rulers, who still began each day reminding himself to meet hardship with virtue. He did not need an audience to witness his discipline. His greatness came from living in alignment with his principles, regardless of who was watching. This lesson echoes across centuries. Discipline is never about what others see, but about what you choose. Think of athletes who train before dawn, musicians who practice in solitude, or entrepreneurs who labor in obscurity long before success is recognized. Their discipline is not glamorous. It is not rewarded instantly. Yet it plants seeds that eventually grow into results the world cannot ignore. What binds them together is the ability to persist when motivation fades, when recognition is absent, and when quitting would be easier than continuing. Discipline, in its purest form, is loyalty to your higher self, to the person you know you are capable of becoming. This is why the Stoics place self-mastery above all else. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that no external force could control a disciplined mind. Freedom is not found in wealth, fame, or comfort, but in the power to govern yourself. The world will try to pull you toward distraction, toward indulgence, toward conformity. Discipline is the shield against that pull, a daily act of choosing strength over ease, clarity over confusion, purpose over temptation. It is the difference between drifting aimlessly and walking with direction. Self-discipline may feel lonely at times, but it forges a character that cannot be shaken by praise or criticism. It teaches you to act not for applause, but for alignment, not for approval, but for growth. When you build this inner strength, your life becomes your message. You do not need to argue for your worth or explain your philosophy. Your actions speak louder, your results endure longer, and your presence inspires more deeply than words ever could. In this way, discipline becomes not just a tool but a way of living, a quiet, unshakable proof of freedom. When you recognize these patterns, a hard truth becomes clear. Not everyone around you wants the best for you. Some drain your energy with constant complaints. Others disguise envy as advice, and still others offer only shallow approval. Quickly withdrawn the moment you choose a path they cannot control. The Stoics remind us that we are shaped not only by our own thoughts, but also by the company we keep. To protect your mind, your peace, and your progress, you must be willing to let go. To ghost without guilt those who secretly undermine your strength. For in clinging to them, you betray yourself. This is not cruelty, but clarity. Ghosting does not mean you hate them, nor that you wish them harm. It means you recognize the weight they place upon your spirit and you choose to walk lighter. A man burdened with stones cannot climb a mountain, no matter how strong he may be. Likewise, a mind burdened by toxic voices cannot rise to its potential. Marcus Aurelius himself avoided flatterers and shallow companions, surrounding himself instead with men of virtue. He knew well that the wrong company corrupts the soul faster than vice itself. Ask yourself honestly, who leaves you drained after every encounter? Who constantly doubts your choices, ridicules your dreams, or delights in your setbacks? These are not allies, they are obstacles. And no obstacle is worth the price of your peace. Epictetus advised, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. This means you must be willing to lose their approval if it means gaining your freedom. Ghosting such voices is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength, the choice to honor your own path above their shallow judgment. To ghost someone is not to disappear in bitterness, but to withdraw in dignity. You owe no explanation to those who never truly wished you well. Your silence is your shield, your distance is your declaration. Let them think what they will. Let them whisper, let them wonder. Their opinions cannot sustain you, their doubts cannot define you. By stepping back, you reclaim the most precious resource you have: your attention, your energy, your soul's direction. And once reclaimed, you will find yourself lighter, freer, and stronger than before. When you practice this kind of selective silence, something powerful happens. Your energy, once scattered among arguments and explanations, is redirected toward building yourself. You stop wasting time convincing people who never wanted to believe in you, and start investing that energy into growth, resilience, and vision. Ghosting those who drain you is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is recognizing that not every voice deserves to echo in your mind. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your table. Seneca warned us to walk with those who lift us higher, for the character of our company inevitably shapes our destiny. By cutting ties with negativity, you are not isolating yourself, but protecting the soil in which your greatness will grow. History shows us countless examples of this truth. Think of Nikola Tesla, the genius whose work shaped the modern world. For much of his life, he was dismissed, doubted, and even sabotaged by those who could not understand his vision. Tesla often retreated into solitude, ghosting those who drained his focus and pouring his soul into his inventions. Though the world often failed to recognize him in his time, his legacy now illuminates every city on Earth. His silence was not weakness, it was strategy. He chose to invest in creation rather than explanation, and though the applause came late, it came loud. This is the reward of walking away from voices that only seek to pull you down. The Stoics remind us that our peace is priceless, and we must defend it as fiercely as a fortress. Every time you allow a toxic voice into your inner circle, you risk surrendering the calm and focus needed for true achievement. Ghosting is not abandonment, it is alignment. It is deciding that your destiny deserves protection from those who cannot see beyond their own insecurities. And when you free yourself from such weight, you rise lighter, faster, stronger. The path becomes clearer and your steps more certain. In silence, you do not lose friends, you lose anchors. And in doing so, you give yourself permission to soar. We live in a culture where people rush to declare their goals before they have even taken the first step. They post their resolutions, speak of future victories, and crave recognition for what has not yet been achieved. Yet the Stoics teach us that real power does not lie in promises, but in proof. Epictetus reminds us not to explain our philosophy, but to embody it. The moment you announce your plans, you invite both judgment and expectation, often creating pressure that drains your focus. Far better to let your silence protect your progress and let your results become the undeniable evidence of your effort. Think of athletes who train behind closed doors, year after year, without revealing their methods or struggles. When they finally step into the arena, the world is stunned not by their words, but by their undeniable performance. This is the essence of Stoic action. Do the work, hold your vision, and resist the urge to seek validation before the results are real. Announcing your dreams too early is like planting seeds and then digging them up to show others. Growth requires protection, time, and quiet dedication. The applause will come, but only when your harvest is ready. Steve Jobs embodied this principle with Apple. For years, he and his team worked in secrecy, refusing to reveal half-formed ideas or unfinished projects. They understood that vision is fragile in its earliest stages and must be guarded against doubt and distraction. When the moment finally came to unveil their creations, the world was not impressed by promises. It was transformed by results. In the same way, you do not need to speak of your greatness. Build it. And when it is ready, it will shine so brightly that no one can ignore it. It was the undeniable weight of her results. The world was captivated not by her claims, but by the magic she had quietly built over years of persistence. This is the ultimate lesson of Stoic strength. Let your work speak for you. The Stoics remind us that virtue, discipline, and excellence need no declaration. Seneca warned that boasting dilutes the value of effort, because the truly great do not need to proclaim, they simply are. Rolling silence preserved her focus, protected her discipline, and ensured that when she finally emerged, the impact was undeniable. Her story is proof that restraint is not weakness, it is strategy. The temptation to announce, to prove ourselves before proof exists, is nothing more than a thief disguised as validation. Every word spoken prematurely takes energy away from action. Stoicism asks us to turn inward, to trade shallow recognition for deep mastery, and to recognize that the process itself is where transformation occurs. The one who works in silence builds unshakable power. The one who constantly broadcasts intentions scatters their energy and weakens their resolve. True greatness, the Stoics teach, is not about being seen, but about becoming. So the next time you feel the pull to declare your plans, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that silence is your ally and discipline your armor. Let the world underestimate you. Let them doubt, let them remain unaware. While they speak, you are building. While they boast, you are preparing. And when the time comes, your results will be undeniable. You will not need to explain or defend yourself, for your achievements will stand as your loudest testimony. This is the Stoic path. Do not announce it, prove it. All that remains is you and the task before you. That is where greatness is forged. This is the crucible of true discipline, the arena where the ego dies and the soul grows stronger. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote not for an audience, not for applause, but for himself. His meditations were private reflections, never meant for publication, yet they became one of history's most enduring guides to wisdom. Why? Because they were lived truths, not performed philosophies. He proved his values not by announcing them, but by embodying them. In our age, where noise is constant and everyone is eager to be seen, choosing silence is a radical act of strength. It is a rejection of vanity and a declaration of self-trust. To stay quiet about your dreams is not weakness. It is faith. Faith in your ability to carry them through without external crutches. Faith that your work, when ready, will carry its own gravity. And when that moment comes, when your results step into the light, no explanation will be needed. The world will see and it will know. So hold fast to this principle. Don't announce it. Prove it. Protect your dreams as you would protect a fragile seed. Guard them in silence, water them with discipline, and let time do its work. One day, when the roots are deep and the branches strong, your success will emerge like a towering tree that no one can ignore. Until then, remain silent, remain focused, remain steadfast. This is the Stoic way. But here lies the paradox. That very silence is your greatest ally. It protects you from distraction, shields you from the expectations of others, and forces you to confront the raw truth of your own discipline. When no one is clapping, you learn to clap for yourself. When no one acknowledges your progress, you build the strength to acknowledge it privately. The Stoics taught that virtue is its own reward, and obscurity is the crucible where this lesson is mastered. In obscurity, you no longer chase validation, you chase excellence. Think of the blacksmith who hammers steel in the heat of his forge. For hours, days, and years, no one sees his sweat, his burns, or his struggles. Yet when the blade is finally drawn, sharp and unbreakable, the silence of his work speaks louder than any announcement. Your journey is no different. The pain, the loneliness, the invisible sacrifices, they are shaping you into someone unshakable. Rise from obscurity is not just about success. It is about becoming unrecognizable to your former self, so transformed that the world cannot believe what you have become. And when the day comes, it will not be because you demanded attention, but because your results commanded it. The same people who once overlooked you will be forced to notice. The same voices that doubted will fall silent. You won't need to tell anyone you've changed. They will see it, feel it, and be unable to deny it. This is the hidden power of rising from obscurity. Your growth becomes undeniable, precisely because it was forged away from the noise. Radiates without effort, without explanation, without the desperate hunger for recognition that drives so many others. That is the gift of obscurity. You learn that true power does not announce itself, it simply is. You no longer chase applause because you have outgrown the need for it. Instead, you walk with a quiet authority born from discipline, patience, and years of unseen work. This is why the Stoics remind us that virtue is its own reward. When you finally rise from obscurity, you carry with you a strength that is unshakable, a confidence that is unforced, and a success that cannot be taken away. The world, when it finally notices, is left stunned not because you told them you were great, but because you showed them through results they can no longer ignore. And in that moment, you understand something profound. Obscurity was never a curse. It was the preparation. The darkness was your training ground, the silence your teacher, the solitude your ally. By enduring invisibility, you forged resilience. By choosing the shadows, you built light, strong enough to pierce through any doubt. Rising from obscurity, then, is not about stepping into fame. It is about stepping into your full self. Speaks for itself. There is a weight to true achievement, a presence that commands admiration even from those who once doubted or dismissed you. The recognition that follows is not for the spectacle, but for the transformation. As you commit to working in silence, you develop a resilience that external praise cannot provide. You learn to honor effort over acknowledgement, depth over display, substance over style. You become deeply aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and you hold yourself accountable. The absence of applause no longer intimidates you. It becomes liberation. You are no longer defined by the attention of the world. You become the architect of your own destiny. Over time, as your efforts bear fruit, your journey becomes an inspiration. Not because you sought to impress, but because you had the courage to grow when no one was watching. Others will notice not your words, but your actions. They will wonder how you achieved so much. And the answer is simple. You embraced obscurity, focused on yourself, and persevered relentlessly in silence. So let the world be loud. Let others chase validation and attention. Instead, take the quiet path. Retreat into yourself, do the work, and let your results make the only statement that matters. When you rise from obscurity, you not merely surprise the world, you redefine what it truly means to succeed. Conclusion. We've just examined the profound power of silence and the importance of focusing inward through the lens of Stoic philosophy. By choosing to act quietly and let your accomplishments speak, you reveal your real value and cultivate resilience that withstands life's challenges. This path is not simple, but it is transformative for anyone striving to become their best self. How do you relate to the idea of doing more and speaking less? Have you felt the impact of silence in your own journey of personal growth? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this video inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming motivational content. See you in the next video.